You mean to tell me you changed your major again?
I mean, I didn't really change anything. I'm still technically undeclared.
Mm-hmm. Sound to me like you technically unable to commit.
Well, a girl has the right to change her mind.
Always. But what happened to psychology?
I still like psychology.
But
everything kind of changed once I took African American studies.
So in House of Payne, we have another update on Jasmine's current college major. Now, it's interesting that she has changed her major a few times at this point. I mean, well, not just changing her major, but it's the uncertainty of college that is really interesting with her character. And, you know, Jasmine kind of stands out to me, being that I went to college myself. Some of the things she's expressed, I've, felt at one point or another, but I don't recall what her original major was. I do know that when we were introduced to that one college professor who came over to dinner that, encouraged students to have open minds about things, there was a point where Jasmine wanted to leave college and then, like, I guess, what was it, go over to Europe or something to do photography and whatnot, and I don't know, just kind of find herself. But then, there was a long period of time where she eventually was on, like, I believe, a semester break. Because I remember when she talked about, like, leaving college and whatnot, I'm thinking to myself, well, who's going to fund this, Europe trip and whatnot? Because as far as we know, Jasmine isn't working, unless she has a on-campus job or something we don't know about. But we can assume she's only going to school. And she kind of periodically comes back to the house to visit her family on weekends or if a day where she doesn't have class or something. But I was thinking that, I mean, like, your parents are paying your bill to go to college. Like, you ought to, make the most of it. As opposed to someone who, kind of has to stick with it, especially if they're dealing with student loans. So I really feel where Jasmine was in a situation where, okay, Jasmine, you're talking about taking a break from school, but, like, how are you going to get the money to go, to another continent and stay for however long you plan on doing that? And, like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Like, say what you will about Malik and his situation, but at least he's working, trying to make a living. Yeah, he's living with his folks, but he's trying to save up and get on out of there. Now, when it comes down to the next step, I believe off screen, Jasmine just opted to do what, her parents said. I think she even mentioned in the episode she was going to at least finish up her current semester, but I think she was on like a semester break, and then she was uncertain of whether or not she was going to school the next semester, because I think at that particular time she was blowing up on social media. And well, no, actually, no, that wasn't it, because I remember she said her grades were slipping. So yeah, she was on semester break. Yeah, but then she went back to school. Then it was her saying, "Hey, social media is doing well. Maybe I should do that." And she wanted to quit school and then be an influencer. But in that same episode, she noticed how flimsy of a career choice that is, and she opted to go to school. But she did decide to change her major to be like psychology and focus on something that would benefit women, like, basically, help women who are, who have been, like, battered and whatnot. Women who are, unfortunate, not just those who are like homeless or something, but those who have dealt with situations, whether it's health, personal abuse, which kind of harkens back to what Ella does at a community center. Now, we get to the most recent episode where she wants to change her major to African American studies. And, that is pretty important. I mean, I think if Jasmine maintained her social media, platforms and grew them, I have no doubt in my mind she would succeed with African American studies, doing a channel on that. I mean, educational YouTube channels are really successful. I mean, math, science, English, those things really do create platforms for people to sustain a living, because it's a lot of things that people don't learn in schools nowadays. I mean, let's look at the most recent years where a lot of history is being erased from the history books or refused to be taught. So what other way is there to learn it? So these channels definitely do a lot. And I really believe Jasmine would excel in that. It's just that I wish she would focus on one thing as opposed to flip-flopping so much. But it's just one of those things that I noticed about the character. And I think she's either a freshman or sophomore. I don't know what year of college she is, but she is still early enough in the program to make these changes. But at the same time, she definitely seems like the kind of person, I don't see her doing just one thing with her life. I mean, that's kind of how I felt. You know, I got my degrees and whatnot, but a majority of them are religion based, and I didn't want to be a preacher. I mean, I've been speaking in church since I was a kid, but it's just that I never saw myself, you know, as a pastor running a church. It's just like one of those things where I like the idea of going around to different churches speaking, but in terms of actually being kind of rooted down in one place, that just isn't for me. Like, I still love doing that, but also I do my YouTube thing and, you know, eBay and whatnot, and well, that's just how I like it. So with that being said, do you think Jasmine will actually stick to the African American studies? Now, I don't believe she officially said she changed her major. She said she was interested in possibly pursuing that degree. So let's talk about it in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next video.